Everyone, this is Kim with Abundant Life Tarot. Welcome back to another Mystery Mystic Monday. And in this particular one, we are going to be exploring the disappearance of Daniel Robinson, a geologist who resided in Phoenix, Arizona, and who inexplicably disappeared almost a year ago. He disappeared. He's been missing for, I think I have it written down here, 11 months. And 7 days. And he disappeared on June 23rd, 2021, out of the Buckeye, Arizona area. So he's a geologist, and he arrived to work. And about 9:15 a.m., he expressed to his coworker that he needed a break, and he was just gonna leave, which it doesn't sound like that was unusual for him. That wasn't a usual thing. And his coworker was even this struck his coworker as odd. So anyways, he left his job site, and instead of, I guess, headed towards Phoenix, he headed the opposite direction, west, towards the desert. And, later that day, he was reported missing, and a search ensued. It wasn't until July 19th, 2021, that his 2017 Jeep was found, turned on its side. We call it a vehicle upset, and the airbags had deployed, but the seatbelt looked like it had been worn by the driver, but there was no sign of Daniel. He wasn't anywhere to be found. I mean, they've searched the area by and large, but this is a desert. And so it's a scary thing to have a human being actually be lost there. And then it's also a daunting task to try to find a person who has gone missing. What's interesting about the vehicle is the vehicle was on its side, and it had his cell phone, it had his wallet, it had some personal clothes in there, so no one took his things. And the vehicle, after some further investigation, by which the family hired an accident reconstructionist, as well as a PI, a private investigator. It was the PI, and from what I understand, the accident reconstructionist's opinion that this accident appeared staged to them, because the vehicle showed that the ignition was turned over 46 times after the impact, and that it drove 11 miles, I guess, before it came to rest in that area, which is interesting, right? Finally, what came out probably, I guess, in October of last year from law enforcement was that in their investigation, they found out that Daniel was driving also for Instacart, and he made a delivery to a young lady and her friend at her place. And, they struck up a conversation, and she invited him into her, I'm assuming an apartment, I'm not sure, but into her place. And I think he caught some feelings. So there were text messages exchanged between Daniel and this young woman, and he would start popping up at her place unannounced and probably sending messages that he really cared about her. And she became growing, like she started to feel uncomfortable. Like it wasn't. She didn't feel safe with all of that going on. So she told him that they can't be cool like that anymore. So by all accounts, by friends and family, he wasn't really depressed or sad over that. Although, people don't necessarily know how a person may be processing, rejection. So I don't know. But this is all just to give you the background information into his case, because we're going to be doing a deep dive, as we do usually in these Mystery Mystic Mondays. But many of you have expressed that you like when I give these little backgrounds. So that's what I'm doing here in part 1 of his video. So in this video, what we're going to do after the intro is I'm going to switch camera angles, and we're going to do the Mildred Payne Secret Pocket Oracle and maybe one other Oracle opening reading to help me gauge what questions to ask in the Tarot and Oracle portion of the reading. So let's get right to it. Thank you all so much for joining me. And let's see what's going on with Daniel. So now we are tapping into the energy surrounding the disappearance of Daniel Robinson. Daniel is now 25. He was 24 at the time of his disappearance. Oh my goodness. Snake came up first. I'm going to reshuffle. I want clear jumpers out of this deck. So I'm shuffling. The first card we got was Snake. I'll move it up in a minute. So we got Snake, Hand, oh boy, Fish. We'll shuffle for a few more cards. B. Oh, I'm starting to sense something. And Devil. All right, so I'll zoom in and see if I can fix the lighting a bit so you guys can see it a little better. Let me turn off this one light. Yeah, better. Okay. So we got the Snake card, and that is alarming in and of itself because he is in the desert. So he's in the desert, and snakes are definitely in that area. So this one surprised me. Even, when I was thinking about him and thinking about doing this reading for his disappearance, one of the first things that popped into my mind was a painful snake bite. Okay, so that popped up in my mind. Here's the thing, though. There's other meanings that we assign to this Snake card, okay? Like, such as fears, facing fears, dealing with fears, the most fearful thing that could happen, whether that thing happens or not. It could mean sexual fantasies, unfulfilled sexual fantasies, and dealing with temptations, okay? So I find that interesting with the Snake card. It could literally mean that he was bitten maybe on his hand or, an extremity with the hand card. Perhaps maybe he was bit and wasn't able to get help. Perhaps, I don't know. He was born with one hand. So he, it's interesting to me that the hand card comes up. I believe from what I read and what I understand is that he never felt he's handicapped or that he was at a disadvantage because he had one hand. He just, moved in life according to his family, his dad, as if he was, going to be a champion. Like he was a go-getter. So, yeah, I don't know. It could literally be the meaning of him being attacked by a snake or some other poisonous situation, or it can mean those things that I mentioned before that could be associated with the Snake card. With the hand card, this could be about a need for help, giving and receiving help. In his case, it could mean something of significance that he did have one hand. That could somehow play a role. It could be, using your hands, being skillful, something, these next cards kind of could deal with, this happening immediately, not too long after he left his job site at 9:15 in the morning, where he needed a break. I don't know. It's going to be interesting what the Tarot and Oracle card says in parts 2 and 3, I'm sure. If maybe there's only, I always say, oh, it's going to be part 2 and that's it. And it's always end up 3 parts. 3 parts. So, fish. This could represent some subconscious thoughts that he had to address and deal with and face, and had to deal with the fish card. Now, the fish card is interesting in terms of its actual meanings with these cards, with the Mildred Payne Secret Pocket Oracle. It could mean like pregnancy, I would imagine like conception, conceiving something. This is someone's own doing, at their own hand. That comes to mind. I don't know why. It could represent suspicion surrounding his case. Did he encounter someone who was devilish? Or was this there's a lot of suspicion around what has happened to him. Was this all his doing? Did he just meet end up dealing with what is it? I can't even find the words to say, but the roughness and the deadliest of being in the desert, right? Making a wrong turn and getting disoriented at your own hand. But on the other hand, there's all this suspicion about, what was he doing? Who did he encounter? Did he encounter someone who was devilish? Okay, while he was working. Now, the last case that I did was Devontae's case. I did that last week, and some of you, I think two of you had mentioned about the B card. There's some spiritual connotations there. For me, when I'm looking at this, if I'm looking at it at a literal way, it's like something happening, or this arising after he left his job, or while he was working. He also was a driver for Instacart. Did he encounter I wonder what evidence is found on all the different Instacart, orders and things. I don't know. It's just interesting that he felt the need to leave his geologist site at 9:15 in the morning when that's not normal. And that happened at work. So the B is also about hard work. Maybe he really did need to take a break, and in leaving, he encountered some sort of confronting issue with the Devil card. Also, social interactions is tied to the B card. So perhaps someone he, was acquaintances with, someone he knew. Sometimes you have acquaintance situations where you're meeting people while on the job, or when you're out and about, it's not too personal, but it's a social situation, With the Devil, this could mean a lot of different things, okay? So the Devil card could mean, an evil entity dealing with deep negative emotions, negative thought patterns, dealing with someone who embodies all of that negative habits, abusive traits. Not saying that Daniel was, not even necessarily saying that he encountered someone like this, but it could be just, sometimes we are our own worst enemies, so it could seem like something like that. I don't know. The cards will, as we do the reading, will unfold and we'll see what comes up. There's like deceit, nasty habits. Nasty habits that could be all consuming, working against, the good in one's life. Self-sabotage or some sort of sabotage on someone that we know, generally speaking, out of work, maybe past workplaces or current workplaces. Or it could just be him in his own doing. It's going to be interesting to see what comes up in the next part of the reading. Okay, so now I'm going to pause here. I'm going to pull some additional cards just to get a better understanding of what are we dealing with here. Are we dealing with some level of foul play, or is this not foul play, right? Where could he be? Is there any clues there? And then we're going to go into part 2 where we look at the Tarot and Oracle with specific questions after I've sat with this reading for a day or so. All right, be right back. Okay, so we're going to see what comes up with this deck surrounding Daniel Robinson. Oh, let me see about this deck. So we got 60 to 110 kilometers, held captive, hiding, locked away, or hidden. All right, so those are the cards. Unsolved. What's coming up for Daniel energetically? I don't know what to make of all of this. I'm just gonna intuitively go with it. I guess that's telling me to not shuffle with this deck anymore. Let's set these off to the side. We'll see what else comes up. South. Helper. $60 to 110 kilometers. It says held captive, hiding, locked away, or hidden. Unsolved on the who, what, when, etc. Like a mystery. Unclear. Burned down, fire, arson. When I see this, even though there wasn't a fire to the vehicle, I sense like a crash and burn type of situation, more so than physical evidence. Yes, this could mean literally evidence burnt, but I sense more that this was more about a burnout. Okay. Held captive could mean someone either held him captive or he could have been held captive in the prison of his own mind. 60 to 110 kilometers perhaps is where he may, like the radius of where he may be at, in the area probably close to his job or close to the city. Let's see. It was like something happened within hours following, and I'll have to look back, like, I guess they can't really they can't find out like when he exactly crashed. They just know when they found the vehicle, but it seems like it happened within hours of him leaving the job site. Let's see. Okay. Honestly, you all, I don't know if he really encountered anyone or like if someone took off with him. I could be wrong. I just don't know. And the held captive literally could mean, with the devil card from the Mildred Payne, that he did encounter someone who's a smoker. We have the smoker card. Or it could mean consuming something that is not good for you, like smoke. Maybe he was consuming something that wasn't good for him. And clean framed, innocent, clear conscious, set up, scapegoat. The word that stands out to me most is scapegoat, and then followed by innocent. Like there could be a blame that this was something racially motivated, or that someone, some entity outside of him was the cause of whatever happened to him, right? But in actuality, it's not. It's something more to do with his own demons with the devil card at work. But again, I could be wrong, and I'm always curious to hear your interpretations in the comments section on what comes up for you. Okay? I'm always curious to hear because you all enlighten me so much. So south, I'll have to look at the map and see what is south of maybe where he was at, his last known location, which was in Buckeye, or maybe 60 to 110 kilometers south of a city, or the city where he was at, or the city he resides in. So perhaps there, whatever happened to him happened within hours of him running off. The week's time, I'm not sure. March could be a time of when more developments come out about his case. March could also indicate, some important date surrounding Daniel, or, maybe a loved one's birthday, or someone that was significant to him having March in their birthday, for example, something big happening to him, some important news coming out in the month of March. Weeks could be, I can't speak to weeks. I know that sometimes you just don't have the answers immediately, and that's okay. It sometimes just bubbles up as I'm doing the next part of the reading, which you all have seen me do in the past, where I end up I'll be like, oh my gosh, I need to tell you all about this last card, March and Helper. So I have some additional decks to kind of nail down, is this someone who hurt him, or was this all his doing? So we'll see what comes up. Hold on. I just want to see if anything else comes up. Let's try the Dark Mirror Oracle. Spirit, was this at the hands of someone or at the hands of Daniel? And this doesn't necessarily mean he intentionally took his life. I mean, we saw the snake card, fragmentation, and bride in a cage. Okay. Fragmented reality. I don't sense that there's someone else necessarily responsible for what may have happened. I know that the accident reconstruction has said that this is staged and the vehicle was moved, but I also see that perhaps maybe he hit his head and he had a moment where he just was fragmented, that, he wasn't able to think clearly. We got bride in a cage. They said that it appears like he may have taken off his clothes. I don't know. No one knows that for sure, right? So there's some kind of disconnect with his cycle, with the psyche there with him. That, again, this could mean that someone's holding him captive with the bride in the cage. Someone else is holding him captive. Or this could mean that he's pinned. He's locked away. He's locked in. But as a result of his fragmented reality. Sometimes looking at the guidebook for this deck is always interesting, because sometimes there's keywords in there that just really stand out and help us to better understand here. So let's see what we've got. So the stage is anger. When rage is projected inward, destruction joins confusion and we break. Okay? Remember that. It says the sentence assigned to this card is losing a sense of self is a crescendo of noise, a decrescendo of pain, and a prelude to nothingness. Okay. Yeah, I'm just looking at anything else that comes up here to mention. Okay, I'm going to read this to you all, the going dark section of this card. Okay, it says, if I were to cut off my legs, would I still be me? If I were to carve out my heart, would I still be me? If my flesh would turn to stone, if my lungs were emptied of air, if my dream to fly were to be forced in chains and hanged out like an expired balloon, would I still be me? I fought and lost, broken, beyond recognition, not by the shallow sight of bystanders who can pity but who can't understand. I can't even recognize myself. Through the sobs, through the tears, and when silence finally comes, trough the empty motions and the conventional smiles. Who did this to me? I did. Maybe, maybe not. What is broken can be mended, not so that it returns whole, but at least until it tells his name anew, my name. And who will do that to me? I will. Do you see those references to I will, I did? So that's what I'm speaking of here. Hold on one moment, y'all. I'm going to see if the people who walk by, they're quite loud. My apologies. I have the window open because it's really hot. Okay, so I'll just read an excerpt from The Bride in the Cage, and then we'll pause here, and I'm going to think about, I have client readings, but I'm going to put these cards to the side and sit with them and then write out my questions for our tarot and oracle reading portion. Okay, so Bride in a Cage. Tomorrow will be the right moment. Tomorrow will be better, even if today is hell. And it says, did we die waiting for the perfect day, or were we never alive? Isn't that trippy? I don't know. The stage that this card is assigned to is denial. So there could be some serious denial about this, and people pinning it on very unusual circumstances. And it is unusual about turning over the ignition 46 times. But again, if you're in a fragmented or distorted, reality way, maybe that was him. I that's what I'm picking up on here. I don't know if I pick up on someone else outside of him doing this. It could be that he did this and got trapped somewhere and was bit. I mean, it could be something like that. It could even be that, because it's just peculiar that, and some people are like, oh, maybe he got kidnapped and was taken for his organs or something like that. I'm not picking up on any of that with these cards. Could be wrong, but I'm not picking up on that vibe either. It feels very much like there was a break. There was a break before the collision, and that caused the collision. Once the collision occurred, he, was in just this distorted, fragmented way, trapped by his own making. Okay, that's what I'm picking up on. And this speaks to perhaps a possible location or a location of importance of information. This could be where the rancher is, to where they found the Jeep. Okay. So that's what I'm coming up with here, you all. Check out my next part, because the next part is where I formulate questions specifically, and I shuffle the tarot cards, and then I also shuffle some oracle to go and speak with it and see what comes up to answering those questions. So I always love hearing from you, and I appreciate you supporting the channel, liking the videos, and really giving some powerful thoughts and arguments and counterpoints to things, and just, shedding further light into these disappearances. It's been amazing. So thank you for sharing. Keep it up. Also, hate to do this to you, but I need to remind you to submit cases. It's very easy. You can either leave a comment or you can email me at mysterymysticmondays@gmail.com. Or now I even have a handy little form that I created for your ease of sending me an idea for a potential case. So reach out to me. All right, you all take good care of yourselves, and I'll see you in the next part surrounding Daniel Robinson. Bye for now.